Hi everybody, my name's John Lacey. This is the video and live streaming show, and I'm joined as always by Sam Proof. Sam, how are you doing today?
Good. A little tired. I woke up real early to take a cat to the vet, but beyond that, doing okay. You, John?
Yeah, I had a slight technical glitch moments before we were to go live, which is always character building, but we got there in the
Awesome.
end, so that's all good. Yeah, so today on the show we're talking all about vertical video and vertical live streaming.
Yeah.
Obviously there are all of platforms that are, either vertical only or they're certainly prioritizing vertical video to be watched basically on your phone. But
Yeah.
Sam, why do you think we should think about actually going vertical?
I I think the main appeal right now is that those platforms that are pushing vertical really are pushing it, and so like on a YouTube or an Instagram, when you post a vertical video, it's very possible that you're going to get 10 to 100 times the amount of views that you would get on traditional horizontal or landscape video.
I mean that's certainly been my experience too. I guess, and we'll talk about this more as we go along. But as much as the short form video, and this isn't particularly restricted to vertical video. But generally speaking, if any kind of platform has a new feature they're trying to push, they will sort of promote it and try to get some adoption of it. Um, but I guess like it's funny at the moment. YouTube in particular is. It's got a number of different personalities, and I don't even think they've figured out how these things relate to each other in terms of the YouTube Shorts, the traditional videos and the live streams. But
Mhm.
it's I mean to your point, it's certainly a good way of sort of building some awareness and getting a little bit further reach. I guess the other thing, and we'll talk about this more a little bit later, is that a lot of these platforms, as much as you can go looking for particular content, a lot of these things are really just driven by the algorithm, just showing you stuff, and you either enjoying it or you're just flicking it away in seconds. So that's another thing to certainly keep in mind. Obviously, is a bit of a culture shift towards vertical video on the phones because
Yeah.
it's always been a little bit unnatural to sort of grab your phone and position it horizontally. And certainly TikTok in particular is this sort of vertical only platform too. So
Yeah, I
um
mean, it's been a sort of a weird battle of traditional horizontal viewers, and then just fighting against this natural urge to hold a phone this way, which is so much more reasonable, like the vertical, as opposed to you don't have to, unless you have big hands or a smaller phone, I guess. Yeah, so I mean, it's like, why fight it? Join it.
Sure. And I know, there has been a little bit of pushback, which I know you've made some jokes about this week, with people not wanting to give up vertical, horizontal video. And to be honest, I get that. I
Mhm.
feel a little bit that way myself because I guess, as much as I love repurposing of content, uh, taking something that was horizontal and making it vertical or vice versa is a lot more work than I think the average person is prepared to admit or appreciate.
Mhm.
But
I
anyway,
mean,
let's
I think that goes both ways, honestly. But
yes,
yeah.
yep. Change is hard. So obviously, in terms of, and we might talk about streaming first, and then work on sort of recorded videos a little
Mhm.
bit later in the stream. But certainly in terms of streaming vertical video, there are a lot of different ways that we can do this. I guess we mentioned phones earlier. Probably the most simple is to literally go on Instagram and just go live straight on your phone. Is that something you've actually done?
At a limited capacity, I have done some Instagram streams. I almost did one today, but I was honestly just so tired from the previous aforementioned foster cat drop off that I just didn't have the energy for it. But yeah, I have done a few Instagram mobile app streams and a few from TikTok as well. Primarily for the kitten cam, like we get um, a new foster or like an over a spillover foster scenario where we already have cats in our main stream room, but then we take on a second litter. So like when they first get there, I'll like jump on one of the mobile apps and do a quick like, hey, this just happened. Here are these cats, and then I'll let it run for a while. So it's probably a different experience than the typical person who goes on and is like, I'm gonna go mukbang over at the Burger King and eat some food for you and talk to you. It's a little bit different, but yes, I have. And it's a simple experience. It's not the most dynamic. You can't do a whole lot. There's no multiple cameras or anything. But yeah, it's quick. It's like 2 buttons and you're done. You're in. You're going.
And I guess, like, if you do happen to find yourself just in a situation where something inexplicably newsworthy is happening and you've got data on your phone and the
Yeah.
connection's reasonable, it certainly can be a way of capturing something in real time. And we don't normally get too political on this show, but certainly if some really big news item was happening like that would be one way of doing it. Obviously, I think the things that you and I do are a little bit more produced than that.
Right.
But so I guess there are certainly some other ways of doing this, and I should mention too, we are going out live on all the places. So if you are watching live, we have changed the time of the show. So if we all,
Yeah.
I would love you to just hit us on the chat. So I mean, there are all kinds of. We spoke about some of the different tools that we use for actually live streaming, and one of the ones that we did mention was Restream and Restream Studio. I just wanted to note that if you do want to get started and you're not particularly techy, it is possible to do this in Restream Studio, which is their browser-based option. So again, I've just got some images here, which I'll bring up on the screen. This essentially is pretty much what we're looking at today in terms of how we're going, although it's a screenshot, so we've stopped moving for that reason. But you can literally click a button and rearrange this scene into a vertical format. So again, if you are interested in recording vertically or certainly doing interviews vertically, streaming or recording or both, that is certainly an option there.
Yeah, I would point out that for anyone who's going to use Restream to stream vertically, one of the biggest appeals of Restream is being able to go out to 20 to 30 different sites at once, most of those not supporting vertical. So if you're going to try and do both, you're going to have to make a very specific scene to, cater to both kind of platforms where you are extremely centralized. And then the rest of you is basically nothing important.
And that's probably not bad advice generally if you are working with with the idea of repurposing. And it's funny,
That's true.
Tanya Smith, who does Stream Like a Boss, she does these live streams horizontally predominantly, but she always comes together at the end and is in the middle of the scene and just goes over the main points because we know that that's the thing that she's going to cut up to actually use in that short form video content.
Yeah.
Big hello to Joe Sonara.
Hey, Joe.
That's usually a last name I can pronounce, but my brain is a little bit dumb at the
Go
moment.
with Serrano.
Serrano, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello, how are you doing? Great. Thank you for joining us. And again, it's Friday. It's Friday in some parts of the world.
Well, some places.
Saturday here in the future. Yeah, so the joy of time zones. But thank you for joining us. So I mean, it's a great point that you make there. So Restream Studio. It's a good way to get started because it is very simple, but by the same token, you've got to embrace some of those constraints of their default layouts and probably stream vertically or horizontally, not necessarily both at the same time.
Yeah, it's tricky to do it through Restream both at the same time, I would say.
Absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, OBS Studio is a tool that's close to both of our hearts, Sam. So, do you have any advice for people that might want to be using that for vertical video?
Yeah, so I mean, we've talked about this a few different times in recent shows, but recently, helmed by Harris Heller, they released a vertical plugin, and the company name is escaping me right now. It's
Atom.
Atom, yeah.
I'll put the link up on the screen.
Atom, but yeah, it's Atom. And yeah, it's been just a game changer for both production and streaming. So this will let you do what we were just talking about. You can have both a horizontal and a vertical setup, and you can stream separately to two different or more sites simultaneously using the plugin and there you go, and the traditional OBS setup. You can also record independently on both of those, and those scenes don't have to be exactly the same. You can make changes to each of them. You can have a series of different scenes that are sort of complementary vertical scenes to like the horizontal scenes you have, and link them so that while you're switching in OBS as you do normally, it switches in the vertical plugin to those new scenes, which is it's really well done and really thought out. I almost upset how good it is. Like I was like, God, why wasn't this done sooner?
It's really good, and it is like it's literally free. That's the
Yeah,
part
and
that
it's
kills
free.
me because
Yeah.
it's so good. And I actually part of the reason we started a little bit late this morning was that I was trying to run a second version of OBS Studio to actually demonstrate some of this live, but there was a bit of a conflict with my audio devices, so I can't really do that right now. But I mean, to Sam's point, the thing that blows my mind a little bit, and you do have to keep in mind that you do have sort of two versions of everything. You've got a horizontal version and a vertical version. Um, but you can reuse the same source in both of them, but you can also choose to do different things. So
Yeah.
in this example, like we're in Restream Studio today, but I'm coming via my virtual camera, and I've got this, I've got my logo in the background and the grey background, and I'm actually recording this in OBS Studio as well, but in both horizontally and vertically. But in the vertical version, I've actually got a different background because that's how I like to do my short clips. So, it's really powerful. You do have to think a little bit about how it works, and you do need to plan it up front.
Yeah.
Which is
And
probably true of everything in OBS.
right.
You do need to think about preparing your presentation in that sense. But once you've got it ready to go, linking those scenes together, if I switch to a different scene, it will actually follow. Um, I kind of wish I had something. Give me 1 second, and I will throw
Sure.
something on the
Well,
other
I'll
screen.
say while you're doing that, that also keeping in mind that you do have to have a few extra things in mind when you're doing this. If you're going to be, streaming both on vertical and horizontal, or even recording both vertical and horizontal, you need to monitor your CPU usage and your internet usage to make sure you can handle that with the machine that you have and the connection that you have. Um, Whereas when you use something like the Restream version, you don't have to worry quite so much about either of those issues. But again, Restream, you're going to be a lot more limited on being able to do both horizontal and vertical at the same time. And with the vertical plugin for OBS, it's amazing. All right, hopefully I stalled enough.
Yes, absolutely. So again, I'm going to try this. I guess that is the other thing to keep in mind is that as much as I love OBS and as much as I love this plugin, it is a little bit on the resource heavy side. I may need to upgrade my computer a little bit because I just love how it works within my context. So I guess what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna be slightly obnoxious and put myself on full screen as I do this. So to give you a sense of how this works, so if I'm just gonna press a button on my Stream Deck to share my screen. And again, this is actually coming through the vertical camera. So basically I've got that there, but if I'm going to try and drag this over to where you can see it. I'm hoping this will work all right. So let's just give it a go. So the thing about this is actually I will have to share my screen for you to see this because I actually clicked another button to say that OBS wouldn't include this. So just give me 1 second. Should have thought
Sure.
about that a little bit more probably.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, I'm going to have to actually go in and turn off a setting now
Right.
because,
There is a setting that
yes.
OBS can hide itself from itself. Yeah.
And it actually hides itself from all screen share, evidently.
Yeah.
So just give me, I'll go back to my
Yeah.
normal.
It's a pro
Um,
tip if you don't want to get that, what is it, like a infinity screenshot of
yes.
OBS, like going into OBS. There is a setting to block that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let me just go back to here. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this is working okay. I must admit we have had some issues sharing screens in Restream Studio. As much as I love it, it is a bit of a constraint. And this is obviously probably a slightly delayed version of this. But essentially, if I actually right click on any of these, I can link them. So I can go to link scenes and I can sort of link a vertical version to a horizontal version. So in this case, and if I go to the screen share, this probably will be the Inception thing of Doom. But
Yep,
just
there
for
it
the
is.
moment, you'll see that this is actually changed here, but it's also changed over here. And I
Yeah.
probably need to crop that a little bit because you can actually see the back of one of my monitors. But that's good to know that that's an option. And I can go back to my original sort of John logo one. And assuming that I've set that up properly, and it doesn't look like I have, let me just go back here to John Vertical. And I can right click and I can go to link scenes. And I want to make sure that when I'm on the logo scene in the vertical version, that I come over to the horizontal, this version on the vertical. I probably got those two words, mixed up, but that's just where I'm at the moment. So anyway, that's essentially how that sort of works. Um, it's a very powerful way of doing it. So hi to a couple of people joining us in the chat.
Hey,
One of your
CG.
friends, Sam,
Mm-hmm.
and the man himself. Took
Welcome
vertical
back.
to me, baby. Our good friend Garen Belaney from Micro Studio. Okay, so I mean, there's lots of different ways you can do this. I guess the other thing too, and this is great in the events that you're actually streaming to multiple places. But if you're only going vertically to one destination, or even a couple of destinations, you may not need to have the vertical plugin. As lovely as it
That's
is,
true.
you can just go in and sort of change the dimensions of your stream.
Yeah, I mean, the vertical plugin is going to add some load to your CPU. So if you are hell bent on just going to one vertical platform and you don't need to do other stuff, then yeah, just change your OBS settings to invert the 1920 by 1080, and you will create a vertical canvas in your OBS. You don't need to use the plugin necessarily. Again, plugin's great, but it's on top of doing a horizontal thing at the same time.
And I don't know if it would still be my advice, but there was a time in the not that distant past where I would sort of recommend actually running a second portable version of OBS that was
Mm.
purely vertical. You may or may not need to do that. That's kind of up to you. But these are all options, and I guess at the end of the day, you've got to sort of think about the ones that make most sense for you and your setup and your workflow.
Yeah. Before it feels like we're going to move on, but before we move away from the vertical plugin, the last thing I want to really say about it is it does also have a feature that we have not talked about previously called backtrack, which if you're familiar with the OBS replay buffer, it does exactly that, but for the vertical scene, and it will allow you to set that to whatever recording folder you want, which is nice because the built-in replay buffer goes wherever the normal recordings go, which could cause problems for somebody who wanted those to go to a specific folder. This actually gives you that ability of like, nope, these go somewhere else, which just makes things cleaner. And if
Yes,
I
yeah.
didn't
So that
explain what backtrack is, you set a parameter like 30 seconds or 2 minutes, and it'll just start buffering. And so when something awesome happens in your stream, you can hit a stream deck button or a hotkey, and it will save that last 30 seconds or 2 minutes, whatever you've set it to.
And I guess like that's a great point. I guess it's something that I actually don't use quite as much as probably you. And I think it has sort of its origins very much in gameplay, or even
Yeah.
sort of a sports type of thing where it's like there was some pivotal moment and we need to relive it. Hello to
Hey, Jed.
Electrojed. That's a voice from the past. How are you
How's it
doing?
going, man? Definitely.
Very
Um,
old time YouTuber there.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Sam. Continue.
No. I was gonna say, yeah, it's very much an instant replay sort of feature. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I guess how do we actually we've got a lot of options, and I guess my big thing is that you've got a lot of opportunities, but the opportunity cost also exists. So, how do we sort of choose between all the options? And I guess first of all, how do you choose between going live horizontally and vertically? Like, do you choose? Do you do both? Do you do one or the other? What are your thoughts in
You
terms of
throw your
making
arms
those
in the
kinds of
air and
choices?
scream Kermit style and just spin around until you fall. Uh, yeah, I mean, this is a sort of a very personal and informed decision that needs to be made, and is going to be based completely on what your goals are. If it is growth for the sake of growth, and you're casting a wide net to multicast and things like that, then you want to be doing everything. You want to do both and get out there. If you're specifically focused on one platform over another, then you have to see what your numbers are for what they're offering in that realm. Like if you're doing like YouTube, where both things are available, um, I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to figure that out. But it's most likely creating a polished horizontal thing that is like the quality content, and then chopping it up a whole bunch of times into the vertical content to fulfill the quantity portion of your goals. But yeah, I think there's a lot to analyze on that particular kind of question.
It all comes back to those goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I guess it all comes back to your goals and what are you trying to achieve? And I guess I was sort of reflecting on my own YouTube experience this week, and as you rightly point out, those YouTube shorts, they just get a lot more visibility than the average horizontal video, and
Yeah.
even the lives. But the way that I was trying to use them was to actually just build awareness for the channel and hopefully get some subscribers in the process. I
Yeah.
think the problem for me is that I'm doing so much live and so much shorts that I'm actually not creating a lot of new videos that are in that traditional sense. So I
Yeah.
think what I've been doing lately is sort of going back to some of those live recordings, chopping them up a little bit, and just going back, actually adding the captions, which I know is a time-consuming thing, especially
Mhm.
if you're not using tools. I do use Happy Scribe to help me a lot with that. But again, going back and actually including that information there, the subtitles, the closed captions, and
Yeah.
even the timestamps. So I want to sort of send people back to that because I know not everybody is actually not everybody is sort of a live viewer. Not everybody is a short viewer. But potentially we have different audiences there, and I think we need to think about that. And I think, to be really honest with you, I don't think YouTube have quite worked out how those things are going to relate to each other just yet. So
No,
it's
not
all
yet.
it's all very new. I
Yeah,
guess
it's clearly got some growing pains, and they've put a lot of eggs in the shorts basket, and it feels like why do I bother making regular content anymore?
hmm
It's literally the difference for like things like my personal channel, which is things like this, things like family vlogs, things like comedy, and the kitten cam, which is cute cats. These are very different things. If I put up a horizontal long form video, 30 views top. If I put up a short, guaranteed 500 to 2,000.
And again, in pure numbers, that sounds like a no-brainer. But I
Right.
guess people aren't necessarily seeking your shorts content out. It's literally just being served up by the random. I say random. I don't know. I have no great
Sure.
insight into the algorithm, but it's just popping up. People, and I don't know what constitutes a view. I'm assuming it's like 1 second or something.
I think it's 3, but yeah, it's
But
pretty.
yeah.
If you made it through the ad, you're you pretty much got a view. Um, the
So I
thing
guess
I
that's the thing, and I've been saying some version of this since we started this show. Is like it's very gratifying to see those numbers, but I'm not entirely sure if we can build these relationships sort of 15 seconds at a time.
Yeah, I will say that I've definitely seen a significant amount of followers come through on shorts, but I don't know how long they're staying. I haven't really figured out how to analyze that just yet. Um, So it is possible that they're like, that was funny, subscribe. Wait, why am I following this thing? Unsubscribe. I don't know.
And I guess another thing that we kind of need to acknowledge is that you may not be streaming vertically because you just can't yet. Both
Sure.
TikTok and Instagram, for example, have some eligibility criteria. I think
Yes.
you've got it on Instagram, but I don't have it anywhere. I mean, there are things that I would like to try out that I don't have
Yeah.
enough sort of followers and subscribers to be eligible to even give it a go.
So it's funny because there's like two tiers of eligibility where it's like they'll turn it on to the mobile app, and I think for both platforms, Instagram and TikTok, it's about 1,000 followers. I don't think it's actually written down anywhere, but I think that is the bar you have to pass. But then um, they also both have the ability to generate a stream key so that you can use like OBS or Restream to stream to them. But again, that's a different tier to turn that eligibility on. And I think it's not even like automated. I think it's literally like they're just handpicking, you get one, you don't. And my personal Instagram does have the ability to do stream keys. Kitten Cam does not. Neither of my TikToks have stream keys. So.
And it's funny, and again, this isn't particularly limited to Instagram and TikTok. A lot of platforms, when they're trying out new features, they will try to constrain who can actually access and use those
Yeah,
things. And as somebody who wants to try these things, it's extremely annoying. But equally, you know, if you ever looked at Twitter Spaces for a hot second, you'll see what happens when you don't sort of have any kind of quality control over who actually has
yeah,
access to that feature. There's some very strange things going on in that particular context.
that's true. I won't touch that.
Yes. Okay. So this is the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey, and I'm joined by Sam Proof as always. Today we're talking about vertical video and vertical live streaming. So we've touched on vertical streaming specifically. Let's talk about you know, vertical video in a more general sense. So um, you know, I think it's always helpful to acknowledge the obvious because maybe sometimes
Sure.
it isn't obvious for everybody, but certainly the project dimensions, the canvas that you've actually got to work with is essentially inverse, so it's 1080 by 1920 rather than the other way around. I guess the other thing too that we see sort of go hand in hand for for vertical video is the short form aspect of it. So
Yeah,
these platforms, they do vary, but again they seem to prize shorter content over longer content.
definitely. I honestly have had the best results with like micro content, which is like 10 seconds or less, even though they, allow you to do, 60 seconds, or in some cases they've started pushing 10 minutes on like TikTok and whatnot. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like, yeah,
I'm incredibly curious about that 10 minutes on
yeah,
TikTok. And again, I tried because I guess as much as I watch TikTok on my phone, but I for any kind of video project, I'm very computer focused. So I do things on my desktop. And when I was uploading a short recently, I sort of noticed that you can actually upload videos of up to 30 minutes. The thing they don't sort of ex- explicitly tell you in that prompt is that you do need to cut them up into sort of 10-minute segments.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm sort of curious. Like again, I'm not expecting to change the world with that piece of information, but I do like to try random things periodically. I uploaded a 27-minute video to
Oh
Instagram the
wow,
other day, just for the hell of it, just to see what would happen.
interesting.
Um,
How did that
so
do?
you know, to be honest, it got pretty much the same views that everything else I post there. So I
Oh,
mean, there's a very small handful of people that must be
yeah,
interested in my stuff. Again, I don't know that I have any great stats on how far they got into that video.
right. Yeah, I was going
But
to
I
say
just
the one major difference between I think all of these platforms compared to YouTube is very watch time centric, and it
hmm
gives you those statistics ad nauseum. Like you have total watch time and you have audience retention, and it's some really great analytics related to that. And I don't know that that's available on any of the other platforms really. So yeah, it's hard to say whether or not long form works on an Instagram or a TikTok comparatively.
Sure. And I guess like so much of this is so new. It's really just trying to find its footing in some ways. So we'll certainly see how this plays out moving forward. But I guess to your point, sometimes those like the ultra short, the 5 to 7 second videos, because they generally loop on most platforms.
Yeah,
Sometimes you've watched those 3 times before you realize, you've
right.
seen
That
the
it
same
has
thing
learned.
over and again. And I've sort of seen people, and again, it's a slightly cynical technique, I suppose, but I've seen people include like a giant paragraph of text on the last frame,
Hmm. Hmm.
and sometimes that gets the better of me, and I just watch it 3 or 4 times to try and
Right.
read the entire thing.
Yeah.
I probably could just pause it and do that, but
Yes.
yes, there's certainly ways of doing it. And I guess the other thing is because of that looping. We've alluded to this previously, but the art of the perfect loop is it's such a beautiful
Yeah.
thing to behold sometimes.
Yeah. There's really a a pretty interesting science to making a good vertical video, especially like a micro video that's like really short, and having a seamless loop. Doing, there's all these other tricks, like like you were saying with the having a long paragraph of text on there and stuff like that, and having a really strong 3 second intro hook. The people that just crush it out there have this thing down, and it's a confluence of all of these tips and tricks, jumping on trending sounds and trending effects and things like that. And there's just a lot to take in. Like if you're gonna go into vertical video, you go hard into vertical video.
And I guess we can't really talk about vertical video without acknowledging that a lot of it is very meme driven. There are a lot of tropes
Hmm.
that just
Yes.
I guess mostly probably referred to as trends, but certainly you're seeing the same person do the same thing over and over again, but
Yeah.
that appeals to a certain audience. And like I kind of hate to admit this, but sometimes I will spend hours watching TikTok or
Hmm.
YouTube Shorts. And I guess my favorite thing, and sorry to Sam's people, I'm gonna get into trouble for this, but I'm not watching kittens. I'm watching puppies mostly. I'm
Oh
just
my
gonna own
god.
it. And like I can
Betrayal.
watch 15 hours of cute puppy
Sure.
videos, and it just does things for my well-being.
Yeah.
So and a lot of the times, like there's this one where they go, they'll have different footage of the dog, and the audio will be as somebody saying, "I was born a dog. I identify as a dog, but according to my mom, I'm just a baby."
Right. There's a
And for
cat
some
version of that.
reason, that never stops being funny to me. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
I
Um,
I literally, because you can do this with sounds, you can bookmark sounds. I literally bookmarked the cat version of that sound today. I think there's probably 4 or 5 versions of that end in the "I'm just a baby," but yeah, I did. I found one today, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I gotta use that."
Absolutely. But and I want to talk about the platform specifically in a second,
Yeah.
but we're just sort of covering some general things, and I guess that let's talk about the sounds. Let's talk about the music because and again, Sam will tell you not to be on too many platforms at once. I will tell you just make something and dump it everywhere. Those are
I mean,
essentially to
I,
some extent.
I can say one thing and practice the other thing, because I will do that. What I will say not to do is create a video on one platform, download it from that platform, which then has the watermark in it, and then re-up that to the other platforms, because they will not like that. They'll totally take you out of the rotation faster than if you just upload a fresh version. So if you cut it in CapCut, and then you can upload it to everything. The first person who friggin' creates an uploader that goes to all of the platforms for vertical, that's $1 million product. Get it going. Um, yeah, but yes, I will say the one thing and do the other.
Sure. But I guess like the place I was trying to take this question though is that using other people's sounds and other people's
Mm,
music. There are some licensing arrangements on TikTok and
yes.
YouTube in particular. And depending on where and how you add that music, you can't sort of even with the watermark to one side, you can't necessarily take the exact same thing and just throw it up somewhere else without being subject to the copyright consequences where maybe those arrangements aren't in place. So, and I guess like to be really honest, there are lots of people creating, quote unquote, their own sounds that use other
Mhm.
people's copyrighted
Yeah.
material. And in some ways, I think that's kind of a bit of a ticking time bomb in my mind. But again, maybe I'm missing the point of these platforms. Maybe it is just for the fun of the moment, and if they go away, they go away.
Sure.
Um,
I think that in general, I have not seen a short video like. Granted, I have not been consistently making shorts for a year straight yet. It's, still like maybe 5 6 months that I've been really pushing on it, where I dabbled prior. So I don't know if there's going to be any rebirth of like some of my more you know topical, like holiday based things, if those will come back up at some point. But for the most part, it seems like 48 hours and that thing is done doing whatever it was going to do. So, yeah, you probably don't need to worry about it that much. That being said, I think there is a significant difference in music compared to sort of these trending sounds. Whereas these trending sounds, for the most part, these creators who have made these sounds, like the puppy I'm Just a Baby thing, which is actually a mashup of two different sounds, one that I think is the original trending one, and then somebody else took it and made the thing. Um, I think those creators clearly are making these to be used, and they're never gonna double down and be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Why are you using my Just a Baby sound? That's mine. I can't believe 2 billion of you, sons of." Whereas with the music industry, they've long they've been in battles with internet platforms for just decades and are ill prepared to change and grow and acknowledge that this is what's going to happen for the rest of eternity. So there's a lot more minutia to the licensing, where I can go on TikTok, like you said, and use a trending sound that I can't use on the other platforms, and vice versa. And unless you're doing something that is so specific to that sound, like you need to use that sound to make this edit, and you're going to cut based on the beats and all that stuff. Um, if you're going to do something like that, you need to check first to see if that sound is available on all the platforms. Otherwise, you're going to just put it on the one platform that it is, or take the risk. And if it's not something where you need that sound to make the video work, that music, I should say specifically, then cut it to whatever music you want. Before you export it, mute the music, export a music free version, upload it to all of the platforms, and find the best music you can from their trending library. Um, the last thing I want to say about that is YouTube um, is my least favorite when it comes to these license agreements. So
mhm.
TikTok and Instagram, great, you do what you want. They pretty much show you what is available to you. You can use whatever sounds they show you. YouTube has a variety of licenses that are out there, and if you go into the mobile app and put your short up or upload your short through the mobile app and get to the part where it's giving you music suggestions, it will not differentiate between these are open licenses that you can use and these have copyright restrictions on them until you've uploaded the video and published it. And then it immediately goes, "We've published it. We can't show this in 27 countries." God damn it.
Yes, and I guess as someone who does upload to TikTok, it literally has a checkbox
Yeah.
in the browser version that says check for copyright stuff.
Yeah. That's true.
So I don't know. I mean, it's you and I, in some ways, make very different content.
Oh yeah.
And to my mind, like I'm not really looking to be TikTok famous, for example. Like I have a very particular slant in the things that I want to talk about, and I don't use music like well, certainly third party music at all. Like occasionally I will bring in some royalty free stuff that I've purchased and own a license to. But I guess you know, and I think there's a bit of a tension there because some people will hear that they have to dance and point to be, you know, to win the Instagram Reels thing. And it's I just you know again I think it's important to step back and think about your aims and your goals there because if you become famous for dancing and you don't want to dance anymore, presumably that audience will get bored and leave. So.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm sort of I'm both fascinated by these short form vertical platforms, and let's be real, I do watch a lot of them. I do. It's become a bit of a routine before bed to just mindlessly scroll.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know that that's necessarily leading to any great relationship building. I don't think it's necessarily resulting in too many people. You know, connecting to me on some deeper basis. I am sort of, and as I say, it's relatively new, and I'm sort of intrigued to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a commonplace routine for a good amount of people these days. I mean, Amanda does that. My wife will sit there watching Instagram Reels before bed.
And I don't know if it's a great pre-bedtime routine,
Probably
to be
not.
honest. But you know, like I say, it's a fairly mindless activity, and it's interesting because I think in some ways, like because they're such tiny little productions, they really there's a lot of you know they're there to make you feel or react or do something within seconds.
Yes.
And in some ways, that's very, you know, that'll like honestly, I try not to open the app unless I've got time for it because it really can spiral out of control really, really quickly. Um, but equally, you know, I don't know. I'm only going to say the same thing I just said a moment ago, but I'm kind of fascinated. But I do think it is pressing your buttons, and you know,
Yeah.
I sort of joked recently on Twitter that I need sort of a happy, shiny version of TikTok that only shows
Yeah.
me the puppy
Yeah.
videos without having the serial killer one in the middle of it. Because you know, there's enough to be stressed about in this world as it is without you know experiencing that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
talk about the platforms more specifically though.
Yeah.
So you know, TikTok in particular is, you know, it's only vertical. Like there is nothing else you can
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
I know they do have sort of a picture type document slideshowy thing, but generally speaking, it
That's true.
is
Yeah.
very vertical video orientated. Um, I guess it's a very trendy thing. I'm curious to hear about your experiences with it. Again, as a consumer, I like it can be so engrossing to watch. I know there are some concerns about it being owned by a Chinese company that the American government in particular are very concerned about.
Yeah.
Which is probably not where we need this conversation to go, but I just felt
Well,
like
I mean, it's
mentioning it.
definitely something I was going to mention is like every 6 months we get the like, oh man, here it is. We're going to ban it any minute now. And like, we're right at the pinnacle of that again, where it's like, we've passed a bill. The president can do it if he wants. I'm like, all right. Didn't happen last time, but all right, we'll see. So yeah, I mean, if you're an American doing TikTok, take it with a grain of salt that it might go away. You might just lose access one day and you have to figure out how VPNs work. Um, which is probably how that's going to work. But yeah, I think as a creator, the greatest detriment to being a creator on TikTok is being a consumer on TikTok because I will go in and be like, I'm just gonna find like a video to react to and like stitch it and do my thing. And then like 2 hours have passed and I'm like, God damn it, I didn't do anything. I'm like, so like having the mental capacity to plan something before you open that app is a real good idea. And like those are my most successful days. Is like I have my idea list. I'm gonna produce first. I'm going to go into the app when I am ready to upload to the app. Because if you mindlessly go in, you're gonna mindlessly leave having done nothing. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I guess and I've complained to you about this previously, but TikTok is like they're trying to get you to use the app, but they tell
Yeah.
me every single day that I have direct messages, and I never have direct messages. There's
It's the
some
same
other kind of
ones.
notification, but they're just
Yeah.
trying to get me to open the app and spend some time in there. But again, like that's a great point. I guess you do have to have some self control and some
Yeah.
restraint in terms of doing that. And to be really honest with you, as someone who creates on a desktop and watches on a phone, those things are actually pretty nicely separated for me
Yes.
personally. I know
Yeah.
not everybody does that, and I know lots of people use CapCut and other things on their phone directly, but um, I guess the other thing too is, and I was sort of looking at this earlier in the week, but there is actually a lot of documentation on
Mhm.
TikTok's own website about a variety of features.
Yeah.
And there are all kinds of things like you've got the ability to, if you go to the website version, if you go to TikTok.com, you can actually go to your profile and get a little widget that you can embed on your website. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
share it out to all the various places. Um, they have playlists which are only rolled out to particular creators, but I believe they actually have something called collections, which is essentially the same thing for everybody else. So
Yes.
I guess there are ways of grouping things together. Again, I don't really know all the implications for a creator from that point of view, but I mean, there's a lot going on there, and it has been pretty well thought out. So I'm quite intrigued by that.
Yeah. No,
And again, I'm just sort of curious to see where it's going.
yeah, I mean it's a solid app. It knows what it's doing and it's doing it well. And I think the only sort of swing and a miss it may have taken is being like, you can do 10-minute videos now. You know, who really wants to? Like, if I want to do that, just give me access to TikTok Live. I'll just do that. I think that's fine. Um, but yeah, everything they've done is like very well thought out. And I think we could probably spend a whole episode talking about the different features that they have and stuff. But the as far as being a creator, sort of things that you should keep in mind are, this is your window of opportunity. You've got stuff at the top, you've got stuff down below, and stuff over on the side. So like you can actually you can Google search a TikTok safe guide template, and that will show you exactly where you should be framing your video. They have this for Instagram as well, and probably YouTube Shorts and stuff. So make sure you go with that. Um, maximize your description to use keywords and stuff, and use some hashtags, and just use it as a community tool, because the thing that makes TikTok work is what launched YouTube in the first place, which was a feature they killed that annoyed me, which is now back, which was video replies. This is the reason it grew so much, is the ability for somebody to have a video out there, and you can then take their video, not just their audio, you can take their actual video and you can stitch it, you can duet it, or you can use their audio and make one of three different kinds of content, links back to the original audio or video, and you're creating stuff, and you're kind of doing this collab thing without having to go, hey, what should we do? Well, let's do like a you and me collabby thing. But yeah, I think that's the brilliance of TikTok, is recycling something that already existed from YouTube.
Absolutely. And again, let's move on to YouTube
Yeah,
Shorts. And again, you've alluded to the fact that video comments were a thing 15 years ago. They're kind of coming back in the
they
sense
are.
that if you're an iOS user, you can do a Shorts. You can reply with a video that is essentially a YouTube Short.
Yeah.
It kills me that Google, the people that make Android, have decided to do this for Apple devices and not Google devices yet. It's very, very annoying that that was the one place where we could reasonably expect Google stuff to be prioritized, but it's not there. So that in itself is kind of annoying, but potentially that is going to be available for more people moving forward, and
Yeah.
it's it's difficult to explain to people how interactive that was back in the day, to actually have a video
Yeah.
reply. And you could reply to something that got a lot of views. You talk about it, and again, these are all the exciting features that you're referring to in terms of TikTok specifically.
Right.
Um, and hello to Kid Blood One, who is
Yeah, Kid
joining
Blood,
us
welcome back.
on YouTube. So yeah, I mean that's certainly one thing, and again, hopefully it's coming for more people moving
Yeah.
forward. But just generally about YouTube Shorts, is there anything that we should be keeping in mind as content creators?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think some of the big things we've kind of talked about here and there, a lot of the little things with like the music licensing and things like that, and again the formatting. You've got your safe zones and whatnot, and you can use their remix feature to essentially do a duet or a stitch kind of thing over on the YouTube side of thing. What YouTube does do that none of the other platforms really does is, because it has this wider library of horizontal videos, is it allows you to also do that from a previous video of your own, and you can remix it. You take a small portion of it to make a vertical video, which does link back to the original video. So maybe you get a little spillover if that shorts goes somewhat viral, partially viral, whatever, a little bit out there. Maybe you'll get a little traffic back to the original source. I think, the other thing is YouTube recently updated its entire partner program. So I don't have all the details on this, unfortunately, but what was originally sort of set up like more of a creator fund is now going to be YouTube Shorts as its own sort of partner monetization program. The details are out there. They just kind of launched it. You have to, hit the goals. The goals are still the same. It's whatever it is, 1,000 viewers and 1 million views, but it is now more of an ad revenue partner program than it was a creator fund. Although I think they did also create a creator fund in addition, if I remember right. And now they're referring to all of these sort of separate monetization contracts as modules. So you're going to have multiple modules out there, one of which will be YouTube Shorts, one will be the traditional program, and whatever else going forward. So yeah, there's those.
So there's a lot going on there in terms of potential monetization for YouTubers specifically. I guess the thing I would probably say about YouTube Shorts is that the short form video, like there's a it's it's a really abstract concept, but essentially depending on how you come to a video, you may see it within the shorts experience or you may see it in the traditional sense. If you put your shorts in a playlist, for example, it's going to just show a vertical video in the middle of a horizontal player. And at that point, I believe you can actually include features like the end cards where potentially you could send them off somewhere else. And again, it sort of comes back to that's whole YouTube identity crisis thing that I don't think they've completely worked out just yet, because if you're watching that same video in the shorts experience on your phone or even in the browser experience is not great,
Yeah.
but it's possible to watch them.
I will say along those lines that for the most part, YouTube Shorts on the back end is treated just like a video. So it has the ability to put in a title and a description and upload a thumbnail. However, if you're just on the YouTube app in the Shorts feed, you don't really see any of that stuff. And to that point, one of my biggest gripes about the mobile app for YouTube Shorts is 2 out of 3 times that I upload something, if I don't schedule it to post and I just push it live right away, it will not have remembered the title for whatever reason. I don't know what I'm doing to not complete that. So I always copy and have it copied and ready to paste again. I literally yesterday forgot and I didn't do it. And I like an hour later went back and I was like, oh god damn it. It like just defaults to whatever the date is as the title. That video still did just as good as any of my other videos without a title, without a clickbaity anything, without a thumbnail description. So it is its own thing. They have not really like brought it into the fold and been like, oh, the algorithm's got to force it to do these things. It's just going to do its thing.
And like it is really confusing at times because you may spend some time writing out a long description and then you realize that mostly people won't see it. But equally, and again, this was some time ago, but I watched something on YouTube Shorts which I found entertaining. I posted it to Twitter, and the stuff that was in that description, there were a lot of weird hashtags, like very suspicious, unrelated to the video at all. And I guess what we established was that was all coming from the video description. But again, in the Shorts experience, you don't see that at all. So obviously there are potentially opportunities for people to game that system. But again, it's probably not something we'd recommend.
Yeah. Along the lines of hashtag, YouTube will only pay attention to the first 3 hashtags as far as like actually making them, because they will become hyperlinks to that tag, but only those first 3 really matter.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. We've been speaking for, we're nearly out of time for the show and we haven't sort of covered everything we wanted to. I guess briefly, is there anything that we should maybe think about or know in terms of Instagram Reels?
Yeah, so Instagram is like the one platform where things don't loop, I think. Actually, I don't remember. Do Shorts loop?
I think they do, actually. Like, if they're short videos, they do, yeah.
So that makes it a weird experience if you're trying to do a loop. They do have an Instagram Reels monetization program called Bonuses, which I think it's 1,000 followers to get access to that. It is like invite-only kind of monetization program. And it is, I think, more like a creator fund where there is a set amount, so you can't just endlessly earn money. It's like I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but it's like $1,200 or something like that, or 150 videos can be monetized up to this. And beyond that, you have 30 hashtags with Instagram, so you can still use those. Do that. And they don't have any kind of stitching or duetting, I think.
No, they don't. It's really interesting because they kind of went all in on video last year, and I think they've backpedaled a little bit now. And they're sort of going, "Oh no, we're photos and video," and it's been really interesting because as someone who posts mostly video, the couple of times in the last couple of weeks that I have posted a still video, a still image, they seem to have done a lot better than the videos. So again, it might be worthwhile playing with a bit of both on that platform specifically. But I feel like there's so much more we could say, and maybe we'll revisit this topic in future weeks. But Sam, for the moment, where can people find out more about you and what's your content?
Yeah, you can find me as Sam Proof on just about every platform except TikTok, where I can't even pronounce it, official Sam Proof. But find me every link on samproof.tv.
Nice. And if you want to catch up with me, you can head over to johnlacey.com. I've got all the links to all of the various things over there. So thank you for joining us today. There's been some great discussion in the chat. We really appreciate that. Obviously, this is the first time that we've done this at the new time. So this will probably be the time that we go live moving forward, but keep an eye on those event invites in case something changes. Is there anything else you want to leave people with this week, Sam?
We now have 2 streams for the cute avalanche thing, one on YouTube and one on Twitch, and they're completely different litters. That's it.
Nice. So you can head over to cuteavalanche.com and I'm sure you'll find out more about those. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk again soon.
Bye, everyone.